we live in a world where our relationship is taken very seriously. Why? Because we do have original relationship with the ultimate being. And so, if you read this book, it will shed a lot of illumination on any doubts that one may be inclined to have as a human being. Because as humans, we are supposed to doubt. So to doubt is a privilege. Humans have to doubt. You don't accept everything you see hook, line, and sinker. In most cases, you have to make some thorough investigative studies of a particular phenomena, or you have to really examine meticulously about the subject matter that you have to deal with. Even humans that you may meet in this life, you have to examine them thoroughly before you start divulging your confidential matters to them. Because sometimes it so happens that we tell our confidential matters to someone we perceive as a confidant. And then the person takes our confidential matters into the street. That could be very much heartbroken. And therefore, one of our eminent acharyas, Rupa Goswami is called, he actually iterated that, yes, we should have confidence. Why? Because the confidant is the person that we can divulge our challenges, and also we can share our wonderful experiences with. It is also desirable that no matter how wealthy you may be, or no matter how palatable the food you prepare may be, it appears that the enjoyment multiplies when you have to eat with your loved ones. And so, yeah, we're social animals and we need relationships because we do have original relationship with the Supreme Personality of God. So, having said that, we'd like to go to the text for today. Text is from Bhagavad-gita, chapter 3, text 441. The title of the chapter is called Karma Yoga. Tasmat tvam indriyanya donai niyam ya bharatasava papmanam prajahi enam jnana vijnanasana. If you can repeat, that would be nice. Tasmat tvam indriyanyado niyamya bharatasava papnam prajahi enam jnana vijnanasanam Tasmat tvam indriyanyado niyamya Bharata-sava
Niyamya Bharata-sava
Papnam Prajahihayanam
Apmanam Prajahiyenam
Jnana Vijnanasam
Jnana Vijnananasanam.
If it's on the board, can someone try?
Tasmat tvam indriyani ado
Tasmat tvam indrayani ado
Niyamya bharatarshava
Niyamya Bharata-sava
Apmanam prajahiyenam
Apmanam Prajahiyenam
Jnana vijnanam nashanam
Jnana Vijnananasanam.
Anyone else?
Tasmat tvam indrayani ado Niyamya Bharata-sava
Apmanam prajahiyenam
Apmanam Prajahiyenam
Jnana vijnananashanam
Jnana Vijnananasanam.
Anyone else to try?
Tasmat tvam indrayani ado
Tasmat tvam indriyani ado
Niyamya Bharata-sava Apmanam Prajahiyenam
Apmanam prajahiyenam
Jnana Vijnananasanam.
Jnana vijnananashanam.
Okay. Word for word translation, and then translation and purport, all by His divine grace, is confirmatory. Sila A.C. Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Sila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Tasman, therefore, Tvam, you,
Indriyani
senses, Ado, in the beginning, Niyamya,
Niyamya
by regulating, Bharata Rishabha, achieve amongst the descendants of Bharata.
O chief among the descendants of Bharata.
Padmanam, the great symbol of sin. Ajahi, curb. He, suffering. Enam, this. Jnana,
Jnana
of knowledge. Vijnana,
Vijnana
and scientific knowledge of the pure soul. Nasana, the destroyer. Translation. Therefore, O Arjuna, best of the Bharatas, in the very beginning, carved this great symbol of sin, lust, by regulating the senses, and slay this destroyer of knowledge and self-realization. Please kindly responsibly repeat. Therefore, O Arjuna, best of the Bharatas, in the very beginning, carved this great symbol of sin, lust, by regulating the senses, and slay this destroyer of knowledge, and self-realization. Purport. The Lord advised Arjuna to regulate the senses from the very beginning so that he could curb the greatest sinful enemy, lust, which destroys the urge for self-realization and specific knowledge of the self. Jnana refers to knowledge of self as distinguished from non-self, or in other words, knowledge that the spirit soul is not the body. Vijnana refers to specific knowledge of the spirit soul's constitutional position and his relationship to the Supreme Soul. It is explained thus in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 9, Text 31. Jnana paramaguya me yad vijnana samavita sarahasyam ta angamcha grihana gaditamaya. Translation: the knowledge of the Self and Supreme Self is very confidential and mysterious. But such knowledge and specific realization can be understood if explained with their various aspects by the Lord Himself. Bhagavad-gita gives us that general and specific knowledge of the Self. The living entities are parts and parcels of the Lord, and therefore they are simply meant to serve the Lord. This consciousness is called Krishna consciousness. So, from the very beginning of life, one has to learn this Krishna consciousness, and thereby one may become fully Krishna conscious and act accordingly. Loss is only the perverted reflection of the love of God, which is natural for every living entity. But if one is educated in Krishna consciousness from the very beginning, the natural love for God cannot deteriorate into lust. When love of God deteriorates into lust, it is very difficult to return to the normal condition. Nonetheless, Krishna consciousness is so powerful, and even a lay beginner can become a lover of God by following the regulative principles of devotional service. So, from any stage of life, or from the time of understanding its urgency, one can begin regulating the senses in Krishna consciousness, devotional service of the Lord, and turn the lost into love of Godhead, the highest perfectional stage of human life. Oh, man, that's my seed will be in so Chaitanya Manobe San Sate come in a good lady, say good Bandisi Krishna Chaitanya, Nityananda Samavadu, Gurudaya, Prospavati, Chaitanya, Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda. See, Advaita, Gudavara, Srisarasiko, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Hare
Rama, Hare Hare.
Namo Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Vishnu Padaya, Bhakti Vasudeva Swami. Namaste, Saraswati, Gaurvani, Manchakalpatarikacha, Kritasamudya, Evacha, Patitanam. So, this is part of the kindergarten knowledge base in Krishna consciousness. Now we are told that we know these physical bodies. We are beyond this physical body. It doesn't mean that we are going to deny the physical body. Just like you may not be your three-piece suit, but the three-piece suit facilitates your presence in a very attractive way. So that when you put on a three-piece suit, when you're talking, people will want to listen to you. So the dress also matters. This brings to mind. I went to a conference, the annual conference of North Carolina Political Science Association, and so I just casually. I just casually, so after my presentation, the panel chair is a prominent TV host in the whole of that state. He has a PhD in political science. And so he was the one panel in a chair in our panel. And so I then, after the presentation, I just sat down on a stool like this. And then, in a cross-legged form. And then he looked at me and he said, Vasudeva, see, look at all these professors, look at all these scholars, your colleagues, look at them. They come here with 3-piece suit, tie, big suitcase. You came here very simple. And you sat there like a Buddha. But your paper is not simple, your paper is heavily loaded. So people tend to judge you by your appearance, and what basically he was implying was that, hey, listen, you are a top scholar, why are you trying to cheat us by dressing very simple to come and make people feel as you know? So we need also the dress, that's my point, we need also the dress. So this body is like a dress for the soul. We may not endeavor to decorate the body so much, but simple care for the body has to be there. But beyond even the physical body, we have to understand our original identity or our pristine identity, so that we don't get unnecessarily distracted by the dictates of the sexual modalities and the mind. Because see, a number of people on the planet, even high-profile governmental officials, have suffered so much of severe setbacks in their professional lives because of this devotional bankruptcy. People fail to understand that they are not the physical body. And so they tend to act based on the dictates of the physical body, physical emotion, the mind and the senses and the emotions. And this has caused so much trouble to so many people, highly placed personalities on the planet. It has sent people to jail. I know of even a U.S. Supreme Court justice who was sent to jail because of this same problem. Therefore, these teachings, they're very important for our social upliftment, for our professional upliftment. We need to really identify our original identity, and so that we can walk towards that objectivity. Otherwise, we will be derailed on the path of our professional development and may even end up in jail like most people have. Therefore, this Krishna consciousness movement, we're teaching people basic things about life. How you can function better with your human form of life and not become a slave to the mind and the sensory modalities. I was in the Caribbean, one of the countries I visited was Suriname. So they were celebrating their 151 anniversary of the abolition of slavery in the country. And there was a program that was slated for the ceremony at their famous museum. So then the director of the museum, he invited me to come and give a talk, on emancipation from mental slavery. So that was intriguing for me because, it's the same thing we're talking here. It's the same thing. Sometimes people work so hard to create some type of positive change in the community, in the society, in the nation, but then they end up in jail. In other words, they try to lead people, but they can't lead themselves. And it is difficult to lead yourself when you don't understand your original identity. When you don't understand that this body is a jacket you, the spirit soul, is using to function, to go about your activities, to go about doing what is the needful to sustain your real reality. And therefore, this spiritual knowledge needs to be instituted in our school curriculum. See, I went to MIT recently to make a presentation, and one professor actually invited me. So during the presentation, some professors and some postdoctoral students were there, and one Caucasian, one white lady was also there. And when I finished my presentation, her question was, why is this thing not being taught in the colleges and the universities? I said, hey, I cannot answer that. Yeah. So this is the main thing that we need to be exposed to. And this adds value to all of our accomplishments. Otherwise, you can accomplish so much, and then the next moment, you become a jailbird. People say that. I was mentioning the other day how the 10th director for International Monetary Fund, he became a victim of the senses and the mind. He became a jailbird. What about all the politicians that got swayed, became enslaved by their mind and the senses, and became jailbirds? They lost their credibility, they lost their position, they lost their jobs. When you have a high-profile job like being a member of Congress, congressman or congresswoman, and you lost your job because of devotional bankruptcy, that's a big shame. And instead of criticizing people, we are providing solutions. We say, look, this is the fundamental principle behind this is the trigger of the unethical activity. This is the trigger of unethical behavior. This is the trigger of criminal adventures. Even we know, Pashana Pina Pashati, even after knowing, even after seeing someone else has gone to jail because of unethical behavior, people still get into unethical behavior. Why? Arjuna also raised this question before Krishna. What is it that causes someone to act against their better judgment? It's part of mention about lust. And Krishna's response was, Kama Esha, Krura Esha, Raja Guna, Samoba. Mahasana Mahapama, Vidyena Ehabharina. It's proper to mention this. The lust factor. The lust that is dominating our lives. These days, even little kids. I remember I was watching a short video clip of like a 3-year-old girl, and she was telling the father, I need a boyfriend. The father said, no, you're too smart for that. She said, no, I need a boyfriend. Yeah. So sometimes we don't know how the kids get exposed to this type of desire. It just shows how we have always existed. And our present life is just a carryover from the previous life. So, Pastor mentioned in the purport that this law that is compelling people to act against the better judgment is the result of a transmogrification of the original law that we have for the Supreme Lord. When the living entity enters the material universe, the original law that we have for the Supreme Absolute is transmogrified into laws by contact with the mode of passion. And who knows about this? We just impaired. We just act based on the impulses of our sensory modalities. And this has wreaked so much of havoc in society. It has caused matrimonial disruptions. It has caused, quarrels. It has raised the blood pressure of so many people because when they're in anxiety and they don't know what to do, the blood pressure rises. And it has caused even cardiac arrest of so many people. It has led to deaths. Therefore, forget about going back to God. Let's solve the problem we have right here. Okay? We have a problem, and that problem is that we misidentify loss to be love. We misidentify loss to be love. A 17-year-old girl, she told me a story how a man was chasing after her like anything. This guy was, a professional, a 25 years old professional. He had a big, nice car, big house. He was chasing after her like anything. And she was exposed to this philosophy, okay, from childhood. And so the guy kept saying, I love you so much, I love you, blah, blah, blah. And then one day she really got fed up. And she said, can I tell you something? She said, please tell me. He thought the girl wants to also reciprocate. So, I'm dying for you, He expected that. Then you know what the girl told him? She said, listen, you don't really love me. You are lusty after me. The guy, that was the first time he was hearing that technology. And he was devastated. He was so upset with this girl. And that was the end of all of their rapport and all this stuff. Because she thought, how can a young girl like her mess me up with this? But the girl just told the truth. That was the truth. So we miscue lust for love. And that's a problem on this planet. I repeat, it is a problem on this planet. Therefore, it is important for us to understand that there is love. Don't misquote me. There is love. But we need to identify the lust factor so that we don't get into situations that we become abused in due course of time. Because if someone is lusty after you, they may use you. At the time, maybe you're very young and you're very attractive. Your boobs are 95 degrees. How many degrees is that? 90 degrees to your chest, and so you're really very attractive. And someone says, I'm dying for you, I lust for you, I love you so much. And then by the time you have 2 or 3 kids, their attraction is no longer there. And they're looking for a similar situation that they got attracted to you. So people, we need to really watch our body. Knowledge, they say, is power. When we have this spiritual knowledge, this transcendental Krishna consciousness knowledge about the soul, and by the relationship of the soul with the super soul and with Krishna, it is very difficult for anybody to come and use flowery language and buy our favor, buy our emotional favor. Whether you're a man or a woman, it happens on both sides. So this knowledge is very useful for our social development. It's very useful for our professional development, and very, very relevant to our spiritual development. Now, in the Bhagavatam, it is mentioned that the major problem that we have is what Prabhupada is mentioning here: the senses and the mind. We don't have supervision over the senses and the mind. We can't supervise the senses and the mind. We just become slaves to the dictates of the mind and the senses. Yet, some of us champion different causes to bring about equality in society, to end slavery. And we are slaves. How come? Listen, the senses and the mind, they are the slave masters that you can't really satisfy. You can't satisfy these slave masters. So let's take a breath and lean forward, examine situations before we jump into it. Decisions have to be meticulously examined before we take our final verdict. Otherwise, in most cases, people take some decisions and then they later begin to regret. So the science of the soul is so important. That is the elementary stage, or that is what we need to imbibe so that we then understand our mission on the planet. Imagine when you send your child to college. You send us out to Ohio State University, and the child forget about the goal of their being in the university. And on college campus, everywhere you may go, it's not always circumscribed to America. Everywhere you go on this planet, college campuses, there are so many infrastructures for distraction from focus on your studies. So yeah, and that's why some of the students, they fail out. Therefore, to understand and differentiate between the impulse of the senses, impulse of the mind, and that devotional value is so important. Listen, the point is, if you don't have some type of devotional practice, you may hear this philosophy and do not make any meaning to you. Because the senses and the mind, the senses are described in this very book, Bhagavad-gita, as they don't have pity for any damn person. No, they are impetuous. They don't have pity for me. They don't have pity for you. And therefore, let's be introspective. Let's understand the value of our being, and that we are elevated. We are highly placed humans with objectivities. And therefore, if we are able to have a culture in devotion, in relationship to God, in relationship to Krishna, our senses and the mind will be purified. For a controlled mind, your success values will be unlimited. At the same time, an uncontrolled mind could be the cause of all of our horrible experiences. I remember we were misled by celebrities. I'm talking about my own lived experience. We were misled by celebrities like Jimmy Cliff and all these other guys. Jimmy Cliff debuted an album titled "Follow My Mind," and in the lyrics, what literally he was saying was, you could Google "Follow My Mind" on the web, you could find the lyrics. What he was literally saying in his lyrics is, whatever the mind tells you, dictates to you, just follow it. And you'll be happy. You'll be great. And we love those lyrics. Woo. Just follow the mind, you know. Until when I got exposed to Srila Prabhupada's teachings, I got exposed to the teachings of the Bhagavad-gita, then I thought, wow, this guy was really full of phenomenological mindset. You know what phenomenological mindset means? See, as a scholar, we don't use Krishna's harsh words. Because in scholarship, you have to respect people, you have to respect professors. If even they are going the wrong way, you have to use some, language that, that embellishes. But Krishna, he doesn't care, he just says, he just boom, boom. So I, for one, I see myself, I'm not Krishna, okay? So I can't stand in that position to be, to say things that could be very vituperative, that people would say, oh, you're abusing me. No, that was not the intention. So from that phenomenological mindset, demonic mindset. We may not have the intention there, because we align with the senses and the mind, we have a problem. Marriages have broken because of this. There have been wars because of this. So we have a simple formula. You see, you may try to solve a mathematical problem, and mathematics, you see, is full of formulas. If you don't use the right formula, you may solve a problem for 1 week. If you try to solve a problem for 1 week, you will always get the wrong answer. Because you didn't use the right formula. Oh, yeah. And so, Krishna, Prabhupada has given you the right formula. Understand who you are, your relationship with Krishna, how the senses, how to subdue the senses, how to make friends with the mind. By engaging the senses and the mind, Rishikesh and Rishikesh say, engaging the mind in the master of engaging the senses and the mind in the master of the senses himself. And it will become purified. This is the bottom line of devotional service. We stand to gain. So when we come, we should ask, what type of service can I do so that we can very quickly become purified and gain control of ourselves? Otherwise, who wants to be enslaved? We should, we should fight for it. We should fight to become free people. But on the planet, so many people are not free. They may not know, they don't have charcoals on their hands, but there are subtle arrangements that incarcerates us. So Krishna consciousness is about decarceration, decarcerating the living entity from the charcoals of the impulse of the senses and the mind. Yeah. Any comments or questions? Yes, any comments or questions? This is a very simple philosophy, so, and it's pretty loose, in a lucid detail. There's no complexity, there's no complications there. So if you don't answer a question, I understand that you will fully understand everything.
Any questions? Okay.
Okay, in the absence of any questions, would you like to join this meeting? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. In fact, when I give a talk and there's no question, I'm really happy about it. It means that we'll round up the day on time, you know. Yes.
Maharaj, so this verse says that we can curb lust by regulating our senses. As you said, the regulation of senses, highest form is to engage the senses in Krishna's service.
Yeah.
But maybe you can talk about the 4 regulative principles.
Why? No, I will not talk about 4 regulative principles.
So how does that relate to regulating the senses?
You see, Lord Krishna mentions in the Gita, listen, if you want to be a good preacher, you stop confronting people with your 4 regulative principles. Okay? See, I had a scenario. There was this devotee, at that time he was doing his PhD at Temple University. So he used to come to the temple with his girlfriend, who became his wife afterwards. And he told us the story. In past, I think in the early 200s, we used to have ISKCON scholars conferences. We used to meet those devotees with PhDs. We used to meet every year for some conferences, coming together to see how each person is exploring, using his skills to be able to reach out to people out there. So he told us the story how he was so much upset, disgusted, when he comes to the temple with his girlfriend, and this brahmachari, it's like a confrontation, They want to show you that, so we are better than you, okay? We follow the principles, you are not. So, and Prabhupada, listen, if you read the Pramana see, you see how Prabhupada really, in the formative stage of Krishna consciousness, and Prabhupada would just engage people to chant. And whatever even little apple he had, he will chop it into pieces and give it to all of the attendees, people who came for his program. He never really tell people about commitment. I remember when he was to give the first initiation at 26th Avenue, then it was there the devotees asked that, so we will take a decision, what is our commitment? Then he talk about 4 principles. At that time, they already built a very strong bond with Prabhupada. So we should try to create some bonding with people before we start confronting them. And there's no need. I don't normally even preach those 4 principles to people, following the examples of Prabhupada. Because there are so many things that we can share with people. Like if you share with somebody about this very simple stuff, they'll be very enthused to study your scriptures. But if you tell them, hey, you know what? These are our rules, okay? They say, what is this? This is not a good place for people to go, boy. Yeah. So, Lord Krishna mentions about self-regulation, which happens to be a big theory in management, the self-regulation theory. I know 2 professors who developed their own self-regulation. They're big models, big theories in management. And without self-regulation, your life is ruined. But Krishna is the one who made that postulation first in the Gita over 5,000 years ago. So a number of professors, especially in my field of management and decisions, a number of professors have read the Bhagavad-gita. And so what they do is that they extract something and embellish it, and then they claim, this is my theory. And we call that a violation of academic integrity. Because if you get an idea from somebody, make a reference to that person. In most cases, these people, they don't make reference to the source of their raw material, the raw information. And it's sad. This is what people are doing. And we have all the rules in academia that this is what they're doing. Like we're acting like a bunch of thieves. So yeah, self-regulation is so important that we regulate our eating. Someone may ask, how do I regulate my eating? Don't eat too much. Prabhupada said, your stomach, have food, 1/4 water, 1/4 air. What type of food I'm going to eat? Yeah. Krishna said, Patam Puspam Phalampriya, Yoga Bhakta Pranamsati, we should offer vegetables, all this stuff to him. So when we offer, that's what we take. What about meat? Unfortunately, Krishna didn't recommend that we should offer meat to him, so we don't want to eat burger. But in most cases, people they will not even ask you those type of details because they are just carried away by the simple explanation you give about the practical benefits of what they need to be able to gain from studying the philosophy. When they study philosophy, all those rules and regulations, they will hear it from Prabhupada. At that time, they already created the bond. Krishna already zapped their mind, and then they can't say no. It's just that they will become determined. Okay, I will do this, I will do this. Yes, I want to follow this, I want to follow this. Yeah, so the self-regulation is so important. And if people become regulated in terms of their habit, in terms of even their sleeping habits, in most cases, the students think that, staying up in the night until 3 o'clock before you go to bed, that is very much an advanced academia. But no. I remember I met one devotee who is doing one student who came from the temple is doing his postdoctoral studies. So he was complaining about time. So I discussed with him and asked about what time he goes to bed, and he said he goes to bed like 2:30 or something like that. I said, what time you wake up? He said, some days 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. I said, but then, see, you can do this. This is what scientific researchers have come up with, that the best period for body rejuvenation is between 10 and 12. So if you sleep before 10 o'clock, you can rejuvenate your body if you sleep within those 2 hours only. Instead of staying all through the night, and then you go to sleep and your body becomes like a dilapidated vegetable, and if you sleep till 12 o'clock, you can't really regain your energies. Because these bodies are designed in such ways that there's a time for us to use for sleeping, there's a time for us to be awake. And if we act in counterproduction to those laws, we suffer some setbacks. So, the idea is that we present the philosophy in a palatable way. And I remember the first time I came to the temple was when I had about 36. I said, what? That was the first time I'm hearing that technology. I had it at the recreational temple. I said, what is it? What does that mean? So yeah, important thing is we have to figure out ways to present the philosophy in ways that address people's problems. And that is what attracts people to be able to come more, to investigate, to buy more books, to be able to read further, to explore. It makes sense? Yeah. Okay. If there's no other comments, okay, yes, please.
So, I'm not asking for permission, as it were, but is it possible to still have Krishna consciousness without following the regulative principles strictly? I mean, maybe not long term, but like short term, can somebody who eats meat still experience Krishna consciousness?
Yes, why not? Garuda is a meat eater. He's a very great devotee of the Lord. Have you heard of Garuda?
I haven't. Who?
Garuda.
That's the
carrier of Lord Vishnu.
In that image there.
The carrier of Lord Vishnu.
The bird of
He eats fishes. He goes to the ocean to pick up fishes. But he's a great devotee of the Lord. He's the carrier of Lord Vishnu.
I see.
Okay, so, but as humans, we have our bodies, our physiological setting is designed in such a way that suits a particular type of diet. That is for good health and for better consciousness. So you look at our canine teeth; they are model like the ones of the herbivores, the cow, for instance. And so our stomach, we also will look at our alimentary canal. Even in our stomach, the concentration of the hydrochloric acid is not so much. And that's why the food stays there longer. And if we compare our stomach to the stomach of the lions, the stomach of the lions, the concentration of the acid there is so intense. Why? Because they don't cook their food and they eat meat. So that when the meat goes into the stomach, it could be digested as quickly as possible. So physiologically, our system, our alimentary canal is so long. And so it's not really ideal for meat eating. Otherwise, we'll get all types of maladies. Yeah, so our system, if we examine very carefully, and see, if you go to the hospital, you go to check the records of any clinic, you find that majority of the diseases are from food. Because we cross the line. We eat things that are not really like naturally ideal for our alimentary canal, not ideal for easy digestion in the stomach. So those problems are there. Yes, so the point is that, yeah, I give an example. Garuda, he eats fish, but he's a pure devotee of the Lord. We are not Garuda. We are humans. Whether somebody can become a situated in Krishna consciousness, everything is not a vegetarian. Yes, there are people like that. There are entities like that. Garuda is a good example. But we are not Garuda. We are conditioned humans. We are meant to follow a particular type of regulated lifestyle in terms of our eating, and we don't fly in the air. Yeah. Yeah, so that's a nice question, nice inquiry. Yeah, some entities, they become situated in Krishna consciousness. They are busy serving Krishna. But we don't have that luxury as human beings. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Any more questions? Okay. Any questions? Any questions? Okay.
You were saying something about how Krishna speaks directly, and I think you were saying if you yourself speak directly, a lot of people will feel attacked.
Yeah. They'll feel attacked.
I don't know if I got like the whole thought there. Like, could you say more about what you were saying?
Yeah. For instance, Krishna talks about, demons. He chastises people, or you do this, you're a demon. You do this, you're a demon. He tells people that, hey, you don't have sufficient intelligence, that's why you're worshiping the dead gods. And so, also sometimes devotees try to imitate Prabhupada. Prabhupada was very heavy with people sometimes. But you know what? Prabhupada, that's this so-called heaviness is done with love. I know one elder brahmachari, he's passed away. He was in Mayapur. He left his body in his 80s. He told me a story how he met Prabhupada. He was a Mayavadi Swami, with a Mayavadi sannyasi. He met Prabhupada. And in India, it's so common when the spiritualists meet each other from different settings. there's this challenge, okay, for debate. So he challenged Prabhupada. This one, he challenged Prabhupada. And he said, they argued that Prabhupada defeated him woefully. So then, to pay the price, he became a disciple of Prabhupada. So he was a brahmachari until he died. So, yeah, Prabhupada could be harsh to people, harsh to scientists, but we are not Prabhupada. We have moderated the way we talk to people. Our ideal way of preaching is to create relationships. We talk harsh, then people will say we're being rude to them and all those type of things. And some people, they may even just, back out from coming close. So we have to be, the watchword is being tactful the way we speak to people. So that we can entice them to come close to study the books. If they read the books and Prabhupada is saving on them, no problem, they will get purified anyway. Yeah, thank you. Any last point? Any last comment? All right, thank you very much for participating in this Krishna course. Srila Prabhupada ki, Bhagavad-gita ki.